William Lee McCorkle, dubbed Leisure, aka Leezy, has been carving his way through the music scene for the past 25 years. He is a one-man show, singing, songwriting, and producing his own music. Not only is he a musician, he's a scholar. He has a doctorate degree from the Institute of Cognition and Culture at Queens College. He is a notable anthropologist. His academic journey allows Leisure in on producing novel lyrics that really bring listeners on his journey. Today, I would like to introduce to you Leisure McCorkle. Welcome.
Hi.
Hello.
Quick note of point.
Yeah.
Queen's University of Belfast, not Queen's College.
Queen's University of Belfast. Okay. Let's speak about how did you begin? Where did you begin?
Okay.
Where was your inception?
Okay,
Where were you born?
I was born in Charlotte. Here, I'm an original gangster from Charlotte. Grew up in this sort of Dilworth, Sedgefield, Park Road area. Both sides of my family are from here, and grew up playing music. I've actually been playing music since I was a little kid. And about around 14, I actually played my first club date here in town. It was at the Double Door.
Oh my gosh!
I begged in the parking lot to a band that was playing there that night. Could I play a couple songs with them? And of course, they'd let me play. And then the club kicked me out afterwards. But that's a legendary club, that was here in town for a long time. And I started off in the punk rock scene, and I was really into new wave and MTV and all that kind of stuff. And then slowly I just sort of morphed. I wasn't the lead guy in those bands. I was sort of the songwriter, and I was the one that did all the booking and all, that side of the business and stuff. And then as we as I got older, basically I started deciding that, when bands break up, let's face it. Yeah. And, and it's just 'cause you've got that many personalities. It's like being married to 4 or 5 people or whatever. Right. And I just decided I wanted to be a singer-songwriter, and I was going to call it after my sort of nickname. And because I just didn't want to deal with changing the name every couple years, or whatever. Yeah. Let's talk about your nickname. Where does that come from? Yeah. So William is actually, the nickname is Liam. Right. Okay. Because it's Scottish, Irish background. And over time, people just started calling me. Well, to go back, teachers couldn't actually pronounce Liam when I was growing up. So it became Lee, and then it became Leisure and all kinds of other derivatives over time. Okay. And I just decided to call myself that at one point, because I was like, I wanted something that stood out a little bit. Maybe Liam McCorkle would have been the way to go, because that's actually closer to the name. Right. But and no one really, until Oasis, no one really knew that Liam was not a common name, or whatever. So, but I just decided to call it Leisure because I'd been called that over the years, and I thought it was kind of a bit unique, and it might stand out a little bit. I'm not sure. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I should have called myself something else. I don't know. No, but, it's great. I always just wondered, where did Leisure? So the big Leezy is just a joke between all my friends and I, and we post, funny things on social media, and it's like, I consider it my hip hop name. Yeah. Even though I'm not a hip hop artist. Yeah. I was like, I'm the big Leezy. Right. No, or whatever, and so it's just sort of a joke, or whatever. But the thing is that in the entertainment business, I think it's important to at least have your sort of style and your brand and things that fit you. And I used to have a management in Atlanta, and the Wicked Brothers, and they were like, you got to have a story. You just got to have a story. And so the thing is that there's a million people named X and Y and Z, but there's only Lady Gaga, and there's Prince, and there's Beyonce, and these people, they have a name, and they don't need anything else. Right. Right. So I guess it depends on what kind of music you're playing too. So, I guess maybe I would have called myself something different if I would have been in my sort of family's roots are in sort of Southern rock. George McCorkle is my cousin, and he was the founder or co-founder of the Marshall Tucker Band. Oh. So when I was growing up, Southern rock was sort of like what everybody wanted to play, classic rock, Southern rock, all this kind of stuff. And, when right around before MTV hit, and when MTV hit, I knew that's the kind of music that I wanted to do. I wasn't talented necessarily enough to be Duran Duran, but or good looking even enough to be Duran Duran. But I was like, I'm gonna have style like Duran Duran, whatever. And so I just developed this sort of idea that this is what I wanted to be, and this kind of music that I wanted to play. And I started wearing suits because I was like, everybody at the time had like a certain look, or whatever. And I just decided I wanted to be more like the Beatles, and I wanted to, the suit was actually supposed to take away from what you were wearing, but it still was like part of a concert thing that you were actually giving 100% or whatever like that. So I wore it was murder too, trust me, to have suits on tour and have to, press them out and clean them and all this other kind of stuff. But I wore suits for probably good 20 years, while I was playing. Always playing. So I don't know. It just sort of felt like my vibe at the time, and we'll see where the next vibe goes.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right.
So talk about, because you've done a lot of things, right?
Yeah,
so you've done you are a scholar, you're a professor.
I am.
You're also in music. Like, how do you marry the two together? You spent 13 years in school. Yeah.
It was, that's interesting you say that, because I always try to keep them separated back in the day. Yeah. And when I went to Belfast, one of my supervisors, who's a huge scholar, that he's at Oxford now. He's the head of Oxford's anthropology department. He was like, he's a younger guy, only a few years older than me. And he was like, man, you should combine them, these things. And I was like, I don't really want to combine.
Why the hesitation?
I don't know. Just always thought that these two things should be separate. Like, don't cross the streams. You know what I mean? Ghostbusters or whatever. And at some point, I think it kind of resonated with me. I was like, why not? I'm just going to mix them. And so now, it's not uncommon to either go to an academic conference and play after the conference somewhere, or people have used it in presentations, joking about, different things. And the academic side. And, the weird thing is, like, I thought the academic side would actually mean something in the music world, but it doesn't seem to really resonate in the music world. It actually helps me more in the academic world, which is very strange. I just decided that, I'm very proud about it. I mean, I'm very proud about both things, but I always had this vision that, like, you don't want to be, I don't know. I always consider myself to be a dynamic person. And I also, the good thing about having at least two things like that is that when you're burned out, and you get burned out over time, you put one down and you pick the other one up.
That is such a great concept.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's worked for me. Yeah. It's really difficult in both of those professions to be successful, especially with any continuity. Right. So I think that I like the fact that I can put one down and pick the other one up and take a rest and a breather. And it's kind of like, what's great about playing out at clubs is that sometimes you don't play a song for a year or two. Right. And then you pick it back up one night for whatever reason, and you're like, it's reinvented, and it just morphs and changes, and you get excited about it again. So it's good to be able to let things sort of wait a little bit and not kill yourself over it, So I'm lucky in that regard. And I'm also into, like, other things. I'm into cycling, you know what I mean? Okay. I consider myself a foodie. Yeah. We actually had a group that I was a part of starting here in town as a cycling group, like a social cycling group on bicycles. And it was called the Crank Mafia. And we started with 5 of us, and we ended up with about 615 people on Facebook over about a 2-year period. And that's one of the things I'm really excited about if coming back to Charlotte, is that eventually I want to get the bike club back up and running, because it's so great. I mean, I think I put 1,000 miles on my car total for the year. Wow. Because you can ride everywhere. There's no parking problems. The Greenway and Charlotte is really lucky that it has the Greenway and the rail trail, and all this really cool stuff is going on. Right. So for me, I want to get back to that because it's really healthy, you know.
It is,
and,
yeah.
You know, I mean, I taught out at UNC Charlotte when I was back in between jobs. I was lucky to have a chair out there that would give me a gig in between full-time jobs.
Right.
And I would come back into town, and I rode my bike out there one year when I was teaching every day from Freedom Park area.
Right.
And that was a good, I got about 30 miles in every day, regardless of what I was doing social riding.
Wow.
So 4 days a week, 30 miles. I mean,
that's awesome.
It's good, right?
It is good.
I felt really good. Yeah. Right. It was a little brutal because going out to UNC Charlotte, you know, the Greenway doesn't go all the way there.
Right.
So I had to find some really sort of creative ways not to get killed by, you know, the tractor trailers and the cars.
Right.
There was a really cool thing that was like this little like preschool is on Old Concord Road.
Okay.
And every day the cars line up on the Old Concord Road to get to the school to pick up their kids. So I would have like this little window where no traffic is really going down that road.
That's awesome.
And I could, as long as I made the deadline, I could shoot through there and cut back over in the neighborhoods and without having to deal with all the crazy traffic and stuff. So it was really interesting to like, you know, figure out ways in which and try not to get yourself killed, you know, whatever.
Right.
All in all, most of the places in Charlotte I think are pretty good to get around. I sort of participate in vehicular cycling,
right?
Which just means I take the lane like a car,
right?
And I have a huge bike that was custom made, and it has bells and lights and whistles and stereo systems going on. And all this kind of stuff.
I need to see this.
It's called Maximus, and the bike is really big. But you know, the thing is that you've got to make yourself visible. Because I saw somebody driving down the sidewalk the wrong way the other day, and I was like, man, that's just asking to get hit because the sidewalk could get you killed. Right. You know, I know it's theoretically you think it's safe.
Oh, it's for walkers. Yeah. Wow. What is your favorite part of making music? Is it the production, writing, assembling it, composing?
Yeah. I think live is my favorite. Making records is a very scary thing because, well, when I first started, it was analog. So you recorded to tape, and, you know, now everything's on a computer. So you can edit and cut and paste a lot of things, and you can make somebody who can't sing or who can't play, you can make them sound good now.
Right.
Back in the day, you had to pay. I mean, you basically, it had to be perfect. I mean, you know, you had some flexibility with cutting in and all that, but like I felt sorry for drummers because back in the day on analog, the drummer had to get the entire song right because you couldn't get out because the cymbals, you know, they sort of resonate. So if you cut it out, you can hear it's being cut out or whatever. So I always felt bad for drummers, and they have to play to the click track most of the time, which is that little to make sure they're on time, and that was murder for them. But so I consider myself I had it easy. But recording is just scary, and I think it's because when you write a song and you feel really good about it, you get in the studio and you know you're building it piece by piece, and it's scary because you really don't know how it's going to come out. Like you got a vision in your mind, or you're working with somebody that's really creative, who's helping you produce it or producing it, and engineering, and you hear it and you get it give you anxiety, for lack of a better word. I mean, I've been in the studio with albums before and been like, this just isn't going to cut the mustard, you know, to whatever. And then by the time we get done with it, it passes the test. But it's a very scary process. You know? So
what advice do you give to those that are making an album, or it's their first album, or like,
I think everybody should make a record if they want to play music. I mean, I think that make a record as soon as you can before you start, so people have an idea about what your songs are about. Because I think ultimately it's about the songs, right? It's cool with the light shows and the outfits and the whatever stage show you got. You know, I grew up on Kiss. I mean, I know how it is, but I think that ultimately people should just get out there and just record something. I think they should probably try to work with the best person they can find, if they can afford it. To spend the money. You know what I mean? Spend the money to go somewhere nice, because you're always going to have this. Like my friend, and he's produced me, and he's my colleague. He plays in the Sponge Tones, Jamie Hoover. He told me, he's like, you always make records because it's a document of your life at that particular time. You know? And so you should always record records if you're a musician, because that just sort of is where you were at that particular time. And it's cool if you change your style, and I don't think any of that matters really. But you know, and I don't even know what to say about what kind of record you make now, because, you know, all the kids are going back to vinyl, and, you know, now cassette tapes are becoming big again. And I actually have just looked at a USB cassette. Basically, it's a cassette, but it has a little USB that pulls out, and you stick it in your computer and it plays. But it looks like a mixtape, right?
That's cool.
When the mixtapes were big when I was growing up. So I think kids should get out there and play, and, you know, if they're not good, it doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think Dave Grohl was talking about it one time. He's like, you just go and get in your garage, and if you're a DJ or you're an MC or you're a drummer or a guitar player, just get in the garage and bang it out for, you know, however long. Because that's the only way you're really going to get anywhere, is that you have to just a lot of people don't realize this, but, you know, it's almost no one is an overnight success in any part of the business. Right. Those people work their butt off at some point. And the thing is like, you just have to do it over and over and over again. And, you know, a lot of people have this philosophy about, they don't want to play but X amount of times a year or whatever. And I get that, you know, you want it to be special, whatever. But I would actually, now that I've done it both ways, I would actually argue that the better route is to play as much as possible anywhere you can, especially if you're young. You know, play every party, play every battle of the bands, play every, whatever club will take you, play coffee houses. I don't care. Because that's the only way you're going to get better. And songwriting is definitely related to playing and getting better. You know, because it's definitely an art and a science. No doubt about it.
Well, speaking of, you're coming up to your 25th anniversary of your first album, right?
Isn't that weird?
It is weird, I'm sure. How are you feeling about it? Are you doing a re-release? Or
I am. I actually printed up. Originally, it was in silver sparkle. I had to get a special printing person to do it has foil on it, so it actually it sparkles, right? And so it was in silver, and I printed up, I don't know, I decided we ran out of them really quick, but I decided to print them up in gold sparkle. So I still have the packaging, you know, of whatever. So I've just decided that since this is the 25th anniversary here in December, I'm going to go ahead and put the gold sparkle ones out. So it won't be exactly the same. It'll actually have on the CD, it'll say 25th anniversary or whatever on it and all that. Just, you know, sort of mark the holiday or celebration.
How can we find it?
It's going to be, I'm playing a show in December 23rd, Festivus. At the Visualite with my trio, which is called the Dilworth Hustlers. Which we're all sort of Dilworth people or whatever originally. And, I'm going to basically give a CD, that 25th anniversary Nappy Superstar, a copy for everyone that buys an advance ticket to the show. So it's sort of going to be like a, you know, sort of a push to.
That's a good plug.
To come to the show, you know, because the Dilworth Hustlers are getting ready to record a new record. In like 2 weeks, I'm starting on a new record with them. Which is going to take a couple of songs from my older stuff, reimagined, and then some new songs into a record, and hopefully it'll be out. Hopefully it will be out around the same time, but I don't always know. Right. Schedules and, you know, that kind of jazz. So I'm not going to rush it. I'm going to take my time, but hopefully there'll be a Dilworth Hustlers record out as well with new material and some reimagined older stuff. So yeah, we'll see.
Very cool.
It'll be cool. Yeah, right?
Yeah, that's awesome. So how has your voice changed, or how has your, like 25 years ago to now, what has transformed? What have you learned? I mean, what's different? Well,
I've had to go down on like a lot of those old songs. I drop it, sort of drop it a key. Because a lot of those ones I was belting out, you know, back in the day. And even though I think my voice is a lot stronger than it was when I was young, it just doesn't like, those keys were not meant for an older person to sing, I don't think, as much as, and I was singing over really loud guitars and stuff. So now I play a lot of acoustic shows. And so I've dropped it down a key because then I sort of can relax a little more on, not all of them, but some of them. I have a problem with D these days, so the key of D. But so I think my voice is a lot stronger because I play a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I've played close to 3,000 shows since I started Leisure McCorkle.
Wow.
And you know, and sometimes there were times when I was playing 7 days a week, and sometimes 2 or 3 gigs in a day. I played 5 gigs in one day on July 4th. You know, I can't even remember what year it was, but
wow.
So, I mean,
how did you have a voice after that?
The voice gets stronger the more you play. It's when you take time off or you get around changes in weather or, you know, or you get sick or something like that. The voice actually gets stronger. It's your hand that's about to die because you get calluses on top of calluses and that is not fun. It's like I've had to figure out weird ways in which to like save my hand from you know, or even like arthritis, you know what I mean? Like it's like your hand is just like, no, it doesn't like that anymore.
No more.
Right. No. You know, I need to be able to switch it around this way and just do it this way, right?
Yeah.
But the voice, I really can't, I've always had a pretty strong voice, not necessarily on key all the time, but I had a strong voice, but it's a muscle. I mean, if you work it out, it definitely gets stronger, but I also try not to blow myself out. Now, playing acoustic is not a problem.
Yeah. So
almost everybody I play with these days, for right now anyway, is we play acoustic, and the trio doesn't have a drummer. We have 2 guitars and a mandolin, and we all sing, and that's great because it's never really too loud for you.
Yeah.
You know, you have to blow it out over amplifiers.
Is one a bass? Do you have a bass?
No, actually, I used to be the bass player for us, but. We don't really need it. I mean, one of us will play the rhythm bass, you know, style of it, and then we don't need it. I mean, but we are going to play at the Visualite with the full band, so we are going to have a bass player and a drummer and probably a keyboard piano player. In fact, I called Greasy Keys, who you know plays over at the Checkers arena for the games, and he's got a gig that night, but he might be able to make the second half of the show. So I'm gonna try to work it out if I can. I wore my Greasy Keys shirt, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, so, nice. There you go.
So, but he actually has played on a couple of my records. So Jason Atkins. And so, you know, hopefully we can get him to join in on it. But, you know, we'll probably have some special guests. It's Festivus, which the reason why I decided to do it on that day is because when we were locked down in the pandemic and I was at my house, I broadcasted every day. To online because you couldn't play anywhere. And I started a Festivus holiday show. My mom's birthday's on Festivus, so this is kind of related to this too. But I did all these like old songs from the Claymation shows, you know, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Heat Miser and all this kind of stuff. And then we went and said, so I did that. It was called the Big Lazy's Festivus and Holiday Spectacular. And played all these like Christmas songs, like everything you could think of. What a Wonderful World, all this kind of jazz. And it was a lot of fun. And I had a lot of people watch it. And so I wanted to do it live with a band, you know, at the thing. So we'll do some fun Christmas, you know, holiday music. And of course it's named after Seinfeld's Festivus, you know.
Festivus for the rest of us.
There is like I had little samples and stuff, give the story of Festivus.
I love that.
Surprised I didn't get in trouble because usually Facebook and Instagram kick you off.
Right.
When you do anything that's copyrighted or anything like that. But I didn't get in trouble for those things.
Are you still doing, during the pandemic, you did something on the lunch break where you'd play live music. It was Lunch with Leezy, right?
Lunch with Leezy, yeah.
Are you still doing that?
I do it randomly but I'm playing so much back in clubs.
Yeah.
You know, every once in a while I'll stream from a club or I'll play from my house, but it's just not logistically feasible to do it now because I'm traveling so much.
So you're on tour.
Not yet. I'm getting ready to go on tour mid-October to mid-November. I'm going out to the West Coast and back, and I just talked to a promoter about ending up in New York and Boston in November. So hopefully
how can we find your tour dates?
So it'll be on my website. All my stuff is on my website. I know nobody does websites anymore, but it's leisuremccorkle.com.
Okay.
And all the dates are always on there. I update it pretty frequently.
Perfect.
And Yeah, it'll be. I've already got dates going out to sort of Oregon, and then I'll come back. I don't think I'm gonna do California this time. California is the most expensive state to go through to tour,
right?
And it's just, I don't know if it's feasible to do it this time. Even though I like to go to California, San Francisco, I love.
Yeah.
But it's just so expensive. I mean, everything in there is so expensive. So you're just throwing money out the window. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think I'm just going to go to Washington State and Oregon, and then come back, and then I'm going to end up in the Northeast and do New York and Boston. And I haven't played New York in a while, so I want to get back there if I can. It's a risky time of the year.
Yeah.
You never know what the weather's going to be like.
Right.
Sometimes it holds out and sometimes it doesn't. So we'll see how that goes. But so I'll do a tour, and then hopefully I'll be able to get everything wrapped up from the Hustlers and then the Nappy Superstar 25th thing, and
that'll close out the year.
And it'll close out the year. I mean, we got a couple. Yeah, we'll see.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I know.
Right. Well, winter is usually a slow time for me, so it's a good time for me to tour.
It is,
because it's it just slows down everywhere. So I just try to do what I can, but I think I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming in today, talking a little bit about it. We're going to plug that tour and the 25th album anniversary of Nappy.
25th anniversary, the December 23rd, Visualite Theater.
Yes.
Awesome venue. One of the best in Charlotte, if not the best.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks.
Cheers.